Welcome to another live episode of An Echo of Glory. Joining me on this show, Jake Sanders. You're already smirking at me. You're wide what I was going to say.
I thought you were going to say the B team.
No, listen, we'll come to that very, very shortly. I disagree with this. Jake Sanders and Ollie Spiro, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. What is this B team nonsense?
We always have to pick up the pieces after these Galatasaray's away. They get the big home wins.
It's not my fault you come on after an away defeat.
Exactly, yeah. We're the Friday morning show, and they're the Monday morning sort of glamour show. So yeah, we are very much the new no B team. We know where we stand.
And then next week they'll get the big win against Ipswich, and we'll get the. Oh, sorry, we don't have a midweek show next week.
You can come on after City if you want.
come on off the England match.
Yeah, exactly. England, Greece.
But yeah, so I've heard, and if anyone knows this, apparently there is a guy who works at the club who basically fills in for like matches, like say, oh Johnny, can you come along? We're 10 versus 11, we're one short. And apparently there is a guy there who's employed by the club. So I'm very much feeling like that at the moment.
That's not a bad role to have.
Imagine being that guy. Would you rather be the guy that fills in here on a Friday morning and the guy that makes up 11v11 at Tottenham Stadium?
I mean, can you imagine? Like, yeah, mate, go. We're playing inverted fullbacks. You're right back, and you're going to be.
How good is this guy?
I can't believe that's true.
If anyone can confirm or deny this, we are taking live comments.
We are taking live comments. We've got a few on already. Ronnie and Peter over there in Melbourne. Do join in with the live chat. As we've said before, we are open for membership. Help us out here at Launchboard Studios. You could do that on your desktop on the YouTube channel. But joining the chat, we're going to be talking about the Galatasaray defeat. We're going to be talking about the upcoming Ipswich game. We've got an interview with a World Cup goal scorer who played for Ipswich. Not too many of those, I imagine, who scored at a World Cup and played for Ipswich. And it's not Finidi George, who might have scored at a World Cup.
Where's he from?
You'd like to think he probably did.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he did.
Alongside Sunday Elise.
PTSD when I hear Finidi George.
Finidi George, yeah. So all that to come. We're going to start with, as we always do, with a very short bit of club news. The under-21s lost to Swindon at the EFL Trophy. These 21s get shunted around in these games. They've got that National League Cup. They've got the EFL Trophy.
It's a good experience, though, the EFL Trophy. I know it's frowned upon, the competition. I think that they did go out, but I think they beat someone earlier in the season.
Peterborough.
I suppose that they did have Lancashire and Moore that day, didn't they? But
yeah. So that happened. Also, we saw that Spurs and Westerlo are starting to team up a little bit more. Vuskovic and Devine already there. Is that right?
Correct, yeah.
They're meeting up now, getting sort of monthly reports, and I think we're going to possibly start to see a lot of our players go out on loan there. We were talking about the lad who's coming over from Korea in January.
Yeah,
I can't imagine he's going to be Premier League ready.
No.
Go to Europe and play for 6 months and maybe a year and a half.
And also, more importantly, go and play with Vuskovic and Devine and build up
right.
I'm always a believer that the best youth players come through actually as a bit of a group. You go back to sort of United. They played together for a number of years before actually breaking into the first team.
Yeah.
Maybe that
would be an interesting conversation.
Did you see the photo though? Did you see the photo they released on the website though?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a funny old photo. I'm not going to go into it, but it's quite a funny photo.
Bit awkward.
Yeah.
And hello, good morning to Spurs Kings TV. I won't call him a rival pod, but another great podcast on this wonderful football club. This wonderful football club that once again gave us.
Hold on, a bit of club news also. Like, well done for the club. Man United are back to the £37 for adults, and I think that's really good. Look, people are going to have Christmas presents, going to be buying, blah blah blah. Great news. That stadium should be rocking that night. I know. I'm really excited about it.
Could be a special week that week.
Could be really really fun. Yeah. So well done to the club.
United Liverpool. I don't know if we've had that, have we, in the stadium? 2 huge games in 4 days. That could be a real memorable week. Hopefully.
I've got to mention Ross Hughes. Good man. Used to work with Ross. Host of the best Spurs pod online. Oh, yeah, I think he's probably right. This is the best Spurs pod, quite frankly.
It's only made good by the B squad, isn't it?
Pacos and Ferreira over there. Right, let's get into last night's game. I'm going to read you the team, if I can find it. I should have been fully prepared, but I wasn't, but I'm sure we can do it from memory anyway. But let's. So Forster in goal. More from him in a moment. Right back was Pedro Porro, centre halves, Dragusin and Davies, Archie Gray left back. In front of them, Bergvall, Bissouma and Maddison, Johnson right, Lancashire in the middle and Son on the left. I suspect Ange, I was going to say Archie, start up to him. I suspect Ange would have made different changes, but he was
forced.
He was forced with all the wingers out. Moore, Werner, Odebear, Richarlison, not a winger, but could have played left, but would have played up front. So he had to probably go. I think it's why Son and Johnson played 45 minutes.
Yeah,
that was premeditated.
They weren't going to play. Had Odebear, Werner, any of them been
Solanke,
available.
Kulusevski again playing, 30/45 minutes.
Yeah.
I actually was checking last night about Johnson, Kulu, and Solanke specifically. And I think they've all played nearly exactly the same amount of minutes in the league and the Europa League. They've all played about 150 minutes in the Europa League in 4 games, which makes me feel that he's really calculating their minutes.
I'm sure.
Considering they all obviously played in the cup games as well.
Listen, we knew that Galatasaray away, it's a tough place to go. Gary was telling us he'd watched them against Elfsborg and they weren't very good. I mean, he wasn't wrong. They weren't great. But it's one of the toughest away games we could have in this group. There's a few good sides in there, but they're not the best team. But just going there mentally for players as well, especially for young players, it's the archetypal difficult place to go. I don't think it's quite the old welcome to hell that Chelsea got in whenever that was, late 90s. But it's a difficult place to go. But we did not start well. We were still on the runway for the first 15 minutes. Well, probably the first hour, but it was...
We seemed a bit overawed by the atmosphere, didn't we? We actually Lancashire had a one-on-one in the first 2 minutes, which was, I think it was offside in the end, but yeah. Until, besides that, we just couldn't get to grips with it.
Well, look, is that a surprise? You've got, again, that team's never played before together. And actually, going back to saying Galatasaray are not an easy play, actually, weirdly, it's come at the worst possible time for us. Because, dare I say, maybe if it had been an earlier game and actually want to get points on the board, we might have gone stronger and less injuries. If it was, say, later in the group, and maybe, again, we needed to just get over the line, we might have gone stronger. Actually, it's come to a point where we've had 3 wins.
Or we might not have needed it.
Or might not have needed it. But we've come at a point where actually we've had... we've got that one injury too many. Like Richarlison is the one. I'm not going to have a go at Richarlison, but it's the frustrating one. Last night was his game. Yeah. They're a big enough club, the kind of club you'd imagine
you could go to,
making a big move to go for him. Yeah. Look at their forward line, and that's just one change too many. So you've got a team that's again scratch put together. It is a long flight away. It's not a game that we were going into. Like we said that Man City in the League Cup a couple of weeks ago, we needed to win. We didn't need to win last night.
We were 3 from 3 going into it.
We're a club that's going to get to a certain point where the squad is stretched to a point, and last night was it. We've lost the whole point. I'm not being negative about it, but you hope we weren't going to lose 9-0, and we didn't.
There was a point where I thought we might.
Beginning of set, but I didn't see the second half. First half, I was still working. I worked really, really, really hard. But I saw the goals. But I'm going to actually let you guys talk about this. But I can just imagine the type of things, and looking at the goals, you can see kind of what was happening.
Listen, I've got to disagree with you here, Jake Sanders. I thought the first goal. Listen, it was a great hit. You were like, maybe Forster could have done better.
I'm very harsh on keepers. It's a great strike.
I think it's a good strike.
It's a brilliant strike. It's not the kind of goal I'm not blaming Forster.
I know you're not.
I just meant a top keeper probably saves that, but I'm not blaming Forster. It was a great
it was a great hit, but he had about 4 of those. They were just knocking it out to him. After that, he had one not so long after that went over the bar.
Vicario saves it.
Listen, who knows? Lee has said
no criticism on the strike. It's a good strike.
Yeah, it's not the kind of goal you focus on the goal, not the kick.
The only thing I would say was Forster was maybe a bit a step to his right too much. But listen, fair play to the bloke. He'll never hit a shot. I say he never hit a shot. He did hit one in the second half.
Did he hit the volley? Did he hit the volley from the corner?
Yeah, and he got deflected.
Yeah. By Dragonsin. So he's got a good strike.
Yeah, it's a great goal. But then suddenly, how many minutes later? 15 minutes later, we're barely in the game, and it's 1-1. Brilliant pass from Archie Gray from a midfield position, which is clearly his.
Yes.
I know he's playing left back, and he was sort of inverted at that point, but that's where you want Archie Gray. He's a really, really good midfielder. Great ball over the top. Johnson could have hit it himself, but it's a difficult shot to hit. And across, and what a place to score your first goal. And he's not shy, is he, giving it in front of that stand?
I think Johnson deserves a lot of credit for that goal because that is not an easy skill. That's the kind of thing you look back on after it's happened. But that is a really difficult skill to take down a ball first time from 50 yards, or 40 yards, whatever it was, and cushion it. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that Johnson may not have done last season. He may have snatched it, he may have tried to take it down, whereas now he's got the confidence and the quality, you know, to really pull it off.
Controversial comment. How many of the rest of our forward line would have been able to do that? That controlled volley?
Solanke. Son. Although I've seen Son do that before and it drift past Harry.
Well, given Son's performance in that 45, you know, I'd say of course they can do it because in training they can all literally pull it out of the sky. They're incredible technicians. But at the moment, in terms of confidence and at that very moment and getting the job done,
was one of the
I
ones
think Johnson is in a real minority. Porro's a very technically good footballer.
So Lancashire became our youngest European scorer since.
I'm going to go Mark Falco.
No, it's later than that.
Okay.
What year are we talking?
2011. I mean, it's fairly obvious, but.
Oh, okay. Is it?
Bow.
No, it's one Harry Kane.
Is it Kane?
Harry Kane.
In different circumstances, obviously a tap in against Shamrock Rovers.
Yes.
Okay.
Did we lose that game?
No,
or draw?
we
won, but
4-0.
we didn't go through. That was it.
Carey sort of chucked that
Was
away.
that when we went out at home, like we lost 2 or lost 3-2 at home or something?
Yeah, to Pauk.
Yeah, okay. From last night's fame, yeah.
Yeah. So we get back in the game and it becomes quite clear, and our guest had told us and Gary had told us, and looking at their defensive record, they're no good at the back. Davinson Sanchez.
Who?
Exactly. Spent most of the evening just sort of high-fiving and cuddling our players. He was really poor. And you could see they weren't good at the back. But the problem was, and I know Ollie didn't see this, we had no control of the game.
Yeah.
We'll come to Bergvall in a second, but the midfield had no control of the game. I don't know whether it's just a case of Madison and Bergvall can't play together. We had no protection. Bissouma was kind of on his own.
Yeah, I felt a bit for
I felt a
him.
bit
I don't
for
think
him.
he was that bad.
No, I don't think he was that bad, but he was
He
completely
had so much
exposed.
space to cover. It was
And
too much.
We were playing out for the back, and obviously that's the way we want to play. But sometimes you wish we'd just go long. We went long against City in the second half, and it worked.
Especially away in Europe after getting a goal
get
as
it
well.
out. Just get out.
I'm not saying every time, but
Yeah.
you know.
It was relentless. Osimhen had goal disallowed. He had chances. Every time we just tried to get pass out the back, it came back. And then before you know it, it's 3-1. This is a goal I want to talk about. I actually don't remember the third goal. Was it the
It's that
cross?
long, it's that
It was
long
a cross and
which-
he's like cushioned it.
and
in.
a
They've been
lovely-
trying that all afternoon.
Lovely
Well, they
finish.
did one, but it was offside,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Lovely
So-
finish by Ottoman, you know, coming over from a long way and then a little controlled left foot volley finish. But the ball's travelled 35, 40 yards and he's put it on the edge of the 6-yard box. I'd like to think a 6'6" goalkeeper
Maybe.
might have.
But the one that bothers me morally is the second goal.
Yeah.
I thought Bergvall was a little bit loose in possession, but he goes back to Davies. Davies plays a pass across to Dragusin. At the time, and even a little bit after the game, I was like, that's a stupid hospital ball from Davies. But actually, the more I see it, the more we can see it on the telly, right? You can see the bloke behind Dragusin. He's also got one
and there
to
was
his
the
left.
other guy, yeah.
Yeah,
There was two
but
of
he
them.
takes a step away from the ball, which allowed, at that point, it gets harder for him because he's allowed the striker to get close to him before he's even made contact on the ball. Gets tackled and they're going through and score. Let's have a little bit of a chat about Dragusin. I thought he was really good against Villa because he's just defending. And I think he's a very, very good defender. Good in a low block, positionally in the area, he's good. He's not I'll say an Ange player. He's not a player that wants the ball in those tight areas. And that's how we play, mate. That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously the drop-off from anyone, from Romero, is going to be a lot. I know Romero's obviously not had a great season, but on the ball,
He'd probably have stepped out with the ball
But
there.
yeah, he looks so limited. I've watched, you know, I think he started 10 games and you know, as we can see, he can defend. You know, he's been good against, you know, City and Villa, but he doesn't look comfortable. It's like he doesn't want to be playing in them positions. He doesn't.
It can't
just
help
doesn't look
him that
comfortable.
he's playing sometimes left centre back, sometimes right back. You were saying to me you don't think he's played with.
Well, he's played with Davis, Van der
He's
Ven,
played-
Romero.
I don't think he's played with Van
I think
der
I think he's played
Gray.
Van der Ven
Did he play
as a
with
left.
Gray once, maybe.
You know, so he, you know, defenders are often, they're not
Partnerships.
They're not. It's partnerships and relationships rather than essentially how good a footballer they are. Obviously, you've got Forster behind you as well, which is naturally going to have a bit of a, you're thinking about that. Look, I'm going to, whether he's the best centre half in the world or not, or whatever it may be.
He's not.
Look, we are, but look, he's a good. We'll say he's a good defender.
Yep.
Yeah.
He is a good defender. He showed that actually in the Euros for Romania. He's 22, which is really young for a defender.
Yep.
But more crucially, we're buying a third choice centre back, which to me shouldn't make a difference. But we work within a certain budget. We're not going to spend 40 to 50 million pounds on a third choice centre back. So we are in that stage, and we're going to have some sort of things we're making that we have to take a view on with the player that we buy. And therefore, it's up to the manager to make the according adjustments. So actually say, you know what? And every time we've seen Dragons in, we mentioned it against Man City. That as soon as he got the ball, they were on him like a pack of wolves. And that would have been on in Turkey, and their manager would have been watching that and said, like, right, get on Dragons in. It's happening, and so we've just got to adapt a bit more. Maybe as well, there's you haven't got Solanke as a figurehead up front, so you're thinking, do I go direct to Lancashire? How is it going to
give it that? See what can
Lancashire's
happen.
a big boy.
I get that. I'm
boy.
just saying that and again, we can come on to the discussion. Like, you can see a footballer pretty quickly. I'm not expecting him to be Beckenbauer on the ball, but I think we've just got to give the guy a bit of chance, a bit of time. But
we're going to ask him to play like he wants Romero to play, which I don't agree with. I think we should. He's going to find himself in those positions, whether we're asking him to play in a low block or not. But I don't think we're helping him by.
No.
When he plays with Romero, there won't be so much impetus on him to play, because he can be the one that sort of drops back in, and Romero's the one that brings it, which you'll see on Sunday if Romero hopefully is fit.
With his
be
stub
fit,
toe. Yeah. But the problem from that side is then you put him onto the left, and he really does struggle there. So look, we can have a discussion here about, we've had this data-led approach, and I'd sit there and think, yeah, good defender, good at headering, 22, young. Is he lightning quick? No. Is he good on the ball? No. So what data were they looking at for defender number 3? That's the question. Maybe they were saying we actually want a bit of a blend between that, and actually we do need to show these guys, but they're not buying clones.
I think it's also apparent that we're quite stacked in midfield. I think we've got a lot of wingers, whether you like them or not, whatever it is. But I think we need to sort out this defence. We're definitely a centre-half and full-back short.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and that's probably got to be addressed in January. I don't think
because we didn't mention this in the summer, did we? No.
It's bizarre. I know Spencer's injured. I'll never understand that. I will never, ever understand that. Okay, so find ourselves 3-1 down at half-time. I think it was like what you said, Ollie, after the City game. If you'd said to me at half-time on a City game, at full-time it would have been 2-1, I'd have said you're mad and sent you off to the men in white coats to the lab. If you'd said to me at half-time, it's going to finish 3-2 to Galatasaray. 13-2. Was it Crew we beat 13-2 in the FA Cup? I don't know how it wasn't.
There was a period of 20 minutes where it was genuinely mental.
After half-time?
Utterly
I was
mental.
laughing. I'd wondered if they'd basically all done like a whole load of Jaeger bombs in the dressing room, because it was not like they were playing like they were drunk.
But we had 11 men at that point as well. We hadn't even had a man sent off.
So I was working on the game for TNT, and Glenn Hoddle said, even before he'd said, Spurs have got to keep it tight first 10 minutes, we'd given away 2 chances. It was all wrong. And I have to give...
Is that Galatasaray fan Glenn Hoddle?
I know.
And every other team we ever played.
He's getting a bit of abuse, isn't he? I like Glenn. I've said this before. I worked a guy, he's Spurs through and through, but I don't know what... Yeah, he's been a bit negative on the old comments, but...
It's almost like he's pretty a pundit that's told by the producers, hey, look, don't be too biased to Spurs.
That doesn't happen.
He's gone way the other way.
Then Carragher Neville's like, go on, lads.
That definitely doesn't happen. But anyway, away from that... yeah, look, Gary said it here. It was a catalogue of errors. There was a catalogue of errors throughout the game. I'm just going to come to Bergvall in a second. Gary's mentioned him. It was constantly a wave of...
I can't believe we didn't concede.
And credit to Fraser Forster. He made
an incredible save.
By the way, I'd like to say he makes one save where he palms it out, and it literally goes about 30 yards. I'm like, wow.
His palms are further than I can kick it.
Yes, a strong wrist.
Lancashire got sent off after an hour for a silly yellow card.
I felt for it.
That ref
the ref was the 12th man.
He didn't have to send him off.
I think he was from the district of Istanbul somewhere. The first one wasn't a yellow. The second one definitely
was.
He
a cheap yellow. He gave, was it Kulu or Bissouma one straight after the red?
Kulu got one after 7 minutes of the second half, which was literally when he brushed past the players. Like
ridiculous.
Well, it was Bissouma after the red card. He didn't.
But the second one's a yellow card. Like, no doubt about it. It's a yellow card. He kind of had the ball and he delayed it on the ball and then kind of went back on himself. And then
he was frustrated.
And he got frustrated. And he's how old is he? He's 19 away in that atmosphere, and he's lost it. He's not like lost his head in terms of getting sent off. He's a second yellow.
It's something we've seen from a striker so many times.
Striker's tackle.
It's not just the fact that he was young.
A forward tackle.
You know what? And it is what it is. And there you are. And then we played really well.
We played really well. He bought on. Galatasaray seemed to stop. He then bought on. We'd already bought on.
Well, you say Galatasaray stopped, but did actually they run out of steam?
Yeah.
Because suddenly, this is our fitness question. That they are not used to the intensity of which we or the Premier League.
As you say, the
Saar,
subs
Solanke, two of the biggest
Solanke,
runners.
Kulusevski and Bentancur were the 4 subs. You won't play against many teams that have that.
Props to Bentancur. I love that guy. He was superb. So anyway, look, we stopped the flow, and we played better with 10 men. I think it was bringing on top senior players in Galatasaray who aren't that good. We just stopped at getting to their forward line, who'd run out of steam too. Icardi can't be bothered to move. He's getting bigger than me. He's just that.
I think if we, even with 10 men, I think if we had a winger on the pitch, I think we would have got at least a draw. Because it was so narrow, weren't it? It was like, I can't even remember how we finished it. It was basically Kulu sort of on the right / everywhere, Solanke, and then it was like a load of, what was it, Saar, Bentancur.
Just a whole load of central midfielders running at them. Anyway, we got a lovely goal. Porro, Solanke, he was like 6 for the season, I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
6.
Someone on Twitter told me this week he wasn't going to get to 10 all season. So
he's getting to 10 something.
Yeah, he's pretty much already there.
He's
we've lost 3-2. If you woke up this morning and you followed football but didn't know what was going on, and you checked the scores and you went, Spurs lost 3-2 at Galatasaray. They've lost. Okay, shame, but a tight game. It wasn't. Kulu could have had that 2 days after Naim's birthday. I thought it was in.
No, but he blew up.
No, he didn't. There was a tussle between Bentancur and someone else, and Bentancur
No, it was Solanke. It was Solanke
and the
keeper off.
The goal would have been given.
Because I was in licensed premises, and they didn't have the commentary, so we all didn't. But yeah, it was
far be it for me to criticise Cooley, but actually,
he should have scored.
Well, I don't think he should score from there, but he certainly didn't start.
Should have got a bit closer.
He didn't start out.
It's the classic. It's the classic when you've got an open goal from 40 yards and you've got players and you're like, shoot. Panic, got to shoot.
Yeah, it's not an easy skill, but I thought it was in.
Anyway. He's rubbish. I'm saying.
He's been absolutely superb, and worried when he went down with that shoulder injury.
The shoulder injury.
We lost 3-2. You've said it. We'd won 3 from 3. I said it last week. If we go out, we're not going to go out. We're certainly going to be in the top 24.
8. Oh yeah, I think that's pretty much guaranteed.
I think probably already
9 points.
One win. That's not. We want to get in the top 8. If we don't finish in the top 8, it won't be because we lost to Galatasaray.
Correct. Yeah, it's because
we've blown it somewhere else, Roma or Hoffenheim, wherever. Last night's result, we don't like losing, but.
It's fine.
What we talked about on the way in, Ollie, we'd had a chat before, is what we've learned from that game. Bergvall, I want to talk about briefly because he's coming for a little bit of stick. I know it. You're going to tell me. He's young. I know he's young. But you said it, start of the season, of all the young players, he's come from possibly the weakest league. You'd rather...
And he's hardly played as well. It's not even like he had 3 years in. He's had he's 20 games in men's football.
He's so raw. Gray's come from Leeds, Moore, and all these boys have come through Tottenham under-21s, which is probably tougher than playing in Sweden. We've seen all those
especially
videos.
with the EFL trophy playing against,
but Gray playing for Leeds, I'm like, that's man's football.
Yeah,
you are, and that the disappointment. I'm going to go back and in the summer we were obviously linked to. We sold Holberg and who I've become my dad insofar as it's a name I've never been able to pronounce yet.
Hoiberg.
But nobody. But you know what I mean. So
you
it's
always
like,
add an L.
Holberg.
Yeah, he's always adds the L.
I know. Anyway, but I've become one of those old blokes
who
can't pronounce. It's like David Pleat always called Thorsveld. But anyway, so we had sold Holberg and it was like the idea that we're going to go hard for a Gallagher or another type. And we actually got linked to that other guy at Wolves, João Gomez. We needed a kind of like an experienced Premier League box to box, and then the narrative came out from the club about they are blown away by Archie Gray and Bergvall that they don't need to buy anyone. And I was like, and I can see that with Gray and I can see it with Bergvall, But Gray, I feel very, and I'm now actually getting peed off the fact that he's not playing in midfield. And I think I really like the idea of us having these 4 kind of 6/8s, whatever they are, but Gray, Sarr, Bentancur, Basuma, and then rotating, keeping up that intensity of games. So you bring on someone at 50 minutes and then suddenly 70, you're having another burst like we did against Villa. I'm disappointed I haven't seen Gray more in the Premier League. But between them, they've not played a minute Premier League in midfield. I think might have played, might have come as a sub. But Gray's been playing fullback. Bergvall, this isn't him. He's saying he's good, bad, indifferent. He's just way off. Yeah. And I don't know about club trained from squad management perspectives, but to me, he needs a loan. He needs a proper loan and actually to grow up that way. So that's my point about Bergvall.
I think last night was just a bit too big for him. I really want to see him grow and prosper. And people say, "Oh, he's young." Yeah, he's young. It could go either way, and it can go either way. And I think he's been given an opportunity in the Europa League, and I don't quite think he's taken it yet. He's obviously talented, so I think Ange would have learnt a lot last night.
I'd still give him chances though.
Yeah,
for the rest of the Europa League.
100%.
If you think Elfsborg,
no, but Roma, if that's the way you want to go, play him against Roma. I also think that.
Okay, here's the question: where do you play him? Do you play him in the 10? Because actually, you were talking about just now, Basuma was isolated, and we're getting to this point now with 3 of us are believing that we're probably better as a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
And I don't think Bergvall is strong enough to be one of the 2.
Or the one behind Solanke.
I think he's more likely there. A bit less responsibility.
The thing is, Maddison's going to probably play those games now, unless something changes.
Starting to think that Ange isn't a fan of Maddison.
You want Ange not to be a fan of Maddison.
I did say at the beginning of the season that Maddison will be the guy I beat all season with my stick.
And you're not going back on it?
I don't think he's doing enough. We wondered why he wasn't getting in the England squad.
I think he's only had last night he was really poor, and Crystal Palace he was awful. I think he'd been fine. He picked up some real momentum with the Brentford game, United game, the first half against Brighton. He was good in the Europa League game against AZ. And
believe me, I'm not wanting to sell him. You can have James Maddison.
I'm a massive fan, but I agree he should be doing more.
This is the level we should. Firstly, he's clearly having a bit of a crisis of confidence.
I think he's better. I think he's playing better than he was at the end of last season.
Correct. Yeah. But the team is functioning better than it was at the end of last season.
Yeah.
But 2, we are a squad. We've got, Kulusevski's not going to be able to run a million miles an hour for every game of the season. You've got to fight for your place. Going back to Poch would say the line, you're paid to train. You're not guaranteed to play. That's obviously made up second half of the quote, but you're paid to train. It's up to him to push and make it compelling as well, to be into that 11.
Yep.
So if you're going to sulk about it, that's more on you than actually.
I don't think Maddison's sulking about it. I think Maddison's, a very sort of I'll prove you wrong kind of character. I hope so.
Yeah, but it's up to him, and I think it's a good thing if we've got competition for places and
also managing Maddison's minutes. I think is good as well.
Yeah, I think that's important as well.
I know that he won't want that, and it might not be a case of managing his minutes, but getting the rest against City and coming off the bench, I think that.
But I think you're right. It's a relentless fixture list. And we need as much a squad as possible.
Yeah. All right. So listen, we've lost. Like I said, we've lost 3-2. It didn't really matter.
I did enjoy, by the way, the last 10 minutes when I think Icardi got injured.
Yeah.
They'd just taken off Austin a minute before, and
Austin looked like he wanted to come back on.
Yeah. Rolling subs.
But they were like the whole Galatasaray bench were like it was like, do you remember the Portugal bench when they beat France in the final of the year? It was like they were all going nuts. It's like, guys, it's a group game.
It felt like this is not meant in a patronising way to Galatasaray, and I know they've not beaten many English clubs. It felt like that game meant everything to them. Absolutely everything.
Yeah, it did.
Like the stadium got so nervous late on.
Yeah, that's
really
what I'm talking about. It was crazy.
Listen, beating a Premier League team for them is
no. I'm not. Knocking them.
But I think, Johnny, you made the point earlier on, and I think it's a good way to end Galatasaray, is the fact that it seems like we didn't pick up any injuries.
Well, Porro had a slight hamstring. But if
you sure it's his hamstring? I think
if
he's had
Porro was
cramp.
injured, I'd be absolutely fine with starting Gray. Absolutely fine.
Certainly gets
especially
Ipswich.
We've got more cover there.
that
and
wouldn't be
obviously
the end of the world if he's not 100%.
He was still on the pitch at the end.
It might have been because you see players going down with
He
tight
does that
muscles,
quite a lot.
but especially with 10 men as well.
He was a physical beast actually because he was still overlapping.
I really like him.
I think, and he's a specimen in terms of his physicality, his run rate, but also technically a really good footballer.
His run rate. England were awful. Absolutely awful. Talk to me about run rate right now. Okay. So look, it's more about what Andrew's learnt really and coming back with no injuries, hopefully maybe Porro, but hopefully we'll pick some back at the weekend, Romero, and Son will get more minutes in his legs. We play Roma next. They have not won away from home all season, and they play Gary's favourite Napoli next week, and then they play us. They're all over the place.
Holland's off,
Roma.
so it's 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, but that's our next game.
3 weeks, yeah.
We probably have to win that.
I think we go full strength in that game.
Yeah.
And then if you win that game, you can go to Rangers, which, we know what Ibrox atmosphere is like, and make quite a few changes. Because that Rangers game is the week before the United League Cup game, and then just before Christmas.
And Liverpool.
You do not want to play a load of players in a Europa League game. So full strength against Roma, beat them, 12 points. We know we've got the Elfsborg game in the bank, which
And
should be 3
Hoffenheim.
points.
When's Hoffenheim?
No. But what I'm saying is, if you beat Roma, Elfsborg should be 3 points. 15 should be all right. And then we might need a point.
15's enough.
That's what I mean. So we beat Roma, we should be good.
Do you get seeded on the 1 to 8? Or is
No.
No, it's just
8 or 1 is eight for first is the same. So we don't need to finish top. And also there was a lot of, it's hard to work out focusing on other results, but there was a load of draws last night, and there was Porto's, Roma's, Man United's, loads of them are on 3-4 points. Fenerbahce, Lyon.
There's only one, Lazio, who aren't even that good, are the only 12
and
from 12.
then Galatasaray are on 10. I saw.
Anderlecht are on 10.
Yeah. And then we're on 9. So.
I wouldn't be worried too much. We should be fine.
And those teams are going to start losing games.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Well, they've got to
start
play
playing
each other.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
Okay. We just talked about Roma, who haven't won an away game this season. There's another team that hasn't won a fixture all season, and we're playing them next. We, as we like to do on this show, try and get as many people on from connected to that previous club. We've got a club legend who we spoke to earlier. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to press this button over here, and hopefully our Matt Holland interview will play. Should we do that? We're joined by Ipswich legend Matt Holland. Matt, thanks so much for joining us.
No, good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Right, we'll dive straight in. Been a difficult start for Ipswich. 5 draws, 5 defeats, one of 2 teams yet to win. But look, it's been 22 years away from the Premier League. How are the fans seeing it? But does there come a point where actually the pressure starts to build a little bit?
To be honest, I think the fans have been amazing, really. The support the last 2, 3, 4 seasons has been incredible. I think we always knew it was going to be very difficult to step up to the Premier League, particularly when you think that this team was in League One just 2 seasons ago, back-to-back promotions. So a lot of this team have been on the journey for the last 2 or 3 years under Kieran McKenna. And that's a massive leap from League One up to the Premier League. So we knew it was going to be difficult. Brought 12 new players in the summer. And there's been some standout performances. Sometimes it takes a little while for them to gel, but by all accounts, there's a real togetherness with the new ones coming in alongside the ones that were already there. It was an incredibly difficult start, an intense start to the season. When you get Liverpool first up and Man City away second, it's not the kindest fixture list in the world. So we always knew it was going to be difficult, but there's been some good performances, and I think we've been competitive in the majority of the matches. I'd say we were disappointing at West Ham in the second half, disappointing at home against Everton, but barring that, we've been in competitive in all the other games. So yeah, I suppose you need that first win, and you need that to come for the confidence of the players as much as anything. But we've been in matches, and we've given a good account of ourselves. And the supporters have made a big difference as well. So hopefully they can stick with the team.
And sometimes when teams come up, goals can be hard to come by. They've scored in most games, playing attacking football. Is the balance right in your opinion yet?
Yeah, I think that's always been Kieran's philosophy. He wants his teams to play on the front foot. We're not a team that are going to come and be totally defensive and not carry a threat. he wants his teams to play attacking football. Liam Delap has really hit the ground running since he's joined. He's been excellent up front. George Hurst is now pushing him up top as well. He's now fit. So we've got competition for places in forward positions. But we do have goals in the team. That's something that over the last 2 years we've scored a lot of goals, and bringing that up into the Premier League as well has been a good thing. But I think even in the Championship last year, you look at the goals against, we conceded probably more than most teams in the division. Most teams in the top half of the division, actually, I think we conceded more than, but we scored a lot more as well. So I think that's the type of football that Kieran plays. He's quite an open style, if you like. He's not a team that's going to come and bank in and just say we're going to get a 0-0 away from home. He wants his teams to play on the front foot and play attacking football.
Matt, morning. How are you? And thanks for that. Obviously, it's a perfect segue because I'm going to ask about Kieran McKenna. He was a former Spurs youth player. I think he was at Man United as well. He's obviously a very young and up-and-coming coach. Can you tell us a bit about his style? I've noticed, I think they do invert some of the fullbacks sometimes, and that's obviously become very fashionable around North London. But do tell us more about his style. You've mentioned it just now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say he plays inverted fullbacks. It becomes more of a three, if you like. So the right back generally tucks in to make it a three in possession, and Leif Davis on the left-hand side is really attacking. Yeah. That means that it's 4-2-3-1, but the left-sided of the forward three always narrows in, makes it 2 10s, if you like. And Leif Davis patrols down that left-hand side in possession. The right back then becomes part of a back three, two holding midfield players. And then it becomes sort of 2 10s with the left forward player tucking in, the right-sided pushing on the right, and then one up top. So Leif Davis is a key player for us in many respects, because he's got a lot of work to do down that left-hand side. He's got great ability on the ball, great delivery. So he's someone that you'll probably need to keep an eye on, because he's a terrific talent. He's getting better and better, actually, growing into life in the Premier League. That's pretty much the style of football. Kieran McKenna is someone incredibly special. I've got to be honest. I mean, I've seen lots of coaches work. I've worked under many great managers, but watching Kieran on the training ground is pretty special. If I'm honest, he's incredibly gifted coach, incredibly gifted communicator. The way he gets his message across to his players, he's got a really good emotional attachment with the players as well. And they understand what he wants from them quite clearly. He's got a good relationship with everyone in the team. Often when a manager, is in charge, he's got a squad of, say, 25, 26. He can only pick 11. So you're actually upsetting more players than you're actually keeping happy. And yet he manages to keep everybody feeling as though they're part of it, utilises his bench regularly. So often he'll make all 5 subs, so everyone feels as though they're a part of it. So he's got the ability to go all the way, Kieran. I mean, I actually heard Nicky Butt talking on TalkSport the other day, saying he's the best coach that he's seen. He said all the coaches that Sir Alex Ferguson had and were successful under Sir Alex Ferguson, he said watching Kieran McKenna work, he's the best he's ever seen. And I've got to be honest, I'd echo those thoughts as well.
Matt, you were obviously at Spurs last Sunday to see the 4-1 win over Villa. How did you sort of see that and Spurs overall? And do you sort of fear the worst for Ipswich if Spurs play like they did in that second half?
Well, I think Spurs are a team that can really cause you problems with the pace that they've got and the speed and intensity that they play at. Obviously, you like to keep the ball underhand. Your possession stats are really high. He likes to sort of control games, but at the same time, you've got to have an attacking threat as well, and you've got that in abundance. Particularly when I mean, last week was slightly different because you didn't play Kulusevski and Maddison together. Yep. But often you're playing 2 very attacking players in those number 8 positions. Son back in the team makes a big difference on the left-hand side. Brennan Johnson, a lot of his goals he's been getting at the far post. He got another one from Son's cross. And Dominic Solanke, I thought, was absolutely terrific last week. Probably his best game in a Spurs shirt. But I know everyone talks about his work rate, but his quality in front of goal last week as well. The little chip finish was terrific. So he's someone we're going to have to be very, very wary of as well. They've got energy in midfield, Papsar and Basuma and people who can get about the pitch as well. So we're not under no illusions that it's a difficult task. and it's going to be another real challenge and test for the players.
Matt, you played over 300 times for Ipswich, many wins in that time. 2 of those wins came in 2001-2 season. I think the season Ipswich went down. You beat Spurs twice. I think you were captain. Just a little bit on that season, because Ipswich just got into Europe, played in Europe, beat Spurs twice, but went down. Any memories of that, and specifically maybe the Spurs games?
Well, I've got better memories of the year before when we finished 5th rather than that season. It was obviously a tough year, to be honest. I think the UEFA Cup obviously was a bit of a distraction in many ways. We were like a team that just got promoted and fresh to the Premier League, and we had a really good first season. The second season, then we were fresh to the UEFA Cup, and I think the demands of Europe probably took its toll on us. And actually, when we got knocked out of Europe, we went on a run just after Christmas. So I think we won 7 out of 8 games, and we gave ourselves a real chance of staying up. Fixture list was horrible at the back end of the season. We had some really difficult games towards the back end of the season, and we didn't quite manage to get over the line and stay up. A tough year actually after a good one the previous season. I actually, my memory's so bad. Trying to remember those 2 games against Spurs now, I can't even picture them. It's so strange how
I actually don't. I don't remember them.
The first one was a Fanidi George overhead kick in the last minute. Yeah,
overhead kick. I remember that. Yeah, I do remember the overhead kick from Fanidi.
Yeah.
But yeah, only because I saw that the other day. Actually, someone posted that on social media the other day, and that's the only reason why I remember that.
We've got a funny record against Ipswich. It's been a long time. Like I said, 22 years. I think 3 wins in 10 against them in Premier League history. So come on, I know you've got your Ipswich hat on, but how do you see Sunday going?
Look, we know it's going to be really difficult. Your head and your heart tell you different things. What I would say is we went to Brighton earlier in the season, and it's probably going to be or need a very similar performance, where we're going to have to withstand a bit of pressure. We're going to have to accept that Spurs are going to have a lot more of the ball. I think that'll be definitely the case, and we're going to have to be good in transition and break quickly. And actually, against Brighton in the second half, we grew into the game, and I think we hit the post in the game as well late on, and we could have even won it. We ended up drawing the game 0-0. We were hanging on for a large part of it, but could easily have nicked one on the break. I would imagine that's the sort of performance we're going to need to try and beat Tottenham this weekend. But Spurs have been in Europe. You never know. I know they've made changes for the game against Galatasaray, but they've had to travel, coming back late for that. So we've had a good week of preparation in readiness for this match. Heart and head tell you different things. I'd love us to get 3 points. I'd love us to get that first win, give us the confidence that can take us for the rest of the season. So I'm going to the game, looking forward to it. It's such a magnificent stadium. I mean, why wouldn't you enjoy it? It's the best in the world right now. So I'll enjoy it more if we got 3 points, though.
Sitting on the fence.
Well, we've been really bad before
Sat on the fence,
international breaks so far. We've lost 2 after Europe, but before international breaks. So hopefully third time lucky for us. But let's see.
I always say this, look, good luck for Sunday. I don't know if I mean it, but looking forward to seeing Ipswich back at the new stadium. Matt, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll speak to you soon.
Johnny, you should get on that, mate.
Did I get him on? Yeah. You know, that was his home debut.
Oh, shit.
How long, James? Are we live? Are we live?
We've got makeup in
I
here.
have no idea. Someone could tell me we're live.
You're back.
We were just sat here chilling. I don't know what you heard. We weren't being rude.
I was asking if makeup's coming in.
I was talking about Luke Young.
We're talking about Luke Young and other such Spurs
Did
right
Luke Young
backs.
play at Charlton with Matt Holland?
Yeah, he
Probably
would
is
have.
around that.
Wasn't Luke Young at Charlton when we beat them 3-2 when Darren Bent put them 2-0 up?
He was at Borough where he scored a screamer against us. I don't know if you remember that.
No, I don't.
Screamer.
All right, so that's Matt Holland. Listen, to have a World Cup goal scorer on an Echo of Glory was great. But for him, imagine that. Like,
It's the
you
coolest
asked him actually off air, Jake, how he played for Ireland, and he hadn't played any schoolboy football for England. So he must have just never thought he was going to play international football. Suddenly he gets a call up for Ireland, and before you know it, he's scoring a goal at a World Cup. But Ipswich Town, we are playing a team that haven't won yet. Wolves are the only other team yet to win. We were just saying off air, if you're going to come back from a trip to Galatasaray, probably Ipswich or Southampton at home is probably the game you want, with respect.
Yeah, I think it's a funny one actually, because when you think about sort of the tiring trip away from home, and what kind of Premier League, we mentioned, imagine playing Villa this weekend, but then Villa obviously had They were away to Bruges, was it?
Or a tricky away game.
But, imagine playing like a tricky away game, even like away to Fulham. No, one of the clubs that are a really good established Premier League club, away from home in a tight pitch.
Yeah.
That would be really, really tough. But you
want to get home after a game like that, not travel again. And
Ipswich at home is as you're hoping as good as we could possibly get.
Ironically, we've actually got Fulham after our next Europa League game.
Oh, is that right?
But it's at home,
Roma?
and we've got. I always feel like Europa League is one thing, but when you play away, especially in Turkey, for any sort of flight is not ideal. Whereas, we've got Roma at home, then Fulham at home. It just feels a bit different.
We played 5:45 British time. I'm guessing it's probably at 7:45 their time or something. By the time they've flown home, the guys are not back in bed. They're for a long, long time back at the training ground. But
some memories of Spurs Ipswich from Gareth Dace 90s Spurs book. I don't remember I don't remember Sheringham getting sent off against them. I remember Frank Yallop scoring a brilliant goal past Eric the Viking. But we do have a weird record against Ipswich. We've won 3 out of the 10 Premier League games, but obviously they've not been in the league for 22 years.
They should be favourites, really, shouldn't they? They're on great form against us.
Yeah.
But Ipswich it's funny because Ipswich are actually quite a club linked with our not so nice neighbours. So apparently, I think this one of my dad's mates who grew up around Ipswich, his family owned like Ipswich Greyhound track, but they also part owned the football club, and they were a big Arsenal family as well. Right. And I think there's always been, and they were all rumoured back in the day to be buy Arsenal like many years ago. But there's always been a huge link between Arsenal and Ipswich.
Chris Kiwomya play for both teams.
I don't think he was involved in that big the financial transaction, but I think there's actually a weird link between Ipswich and Arsenal.
Sodom then.
Gareth just mentioned that FA Cup game, didn't you? I think that was the one.
January '94, yeah, Gareth. January '94. I was at Portman Road. Ian Marshall scored twice. We lost 3-0. Anyone who's worried about our set piece defending now, try and look that game up because the set piece defending then was very similar to the set piece defending now.
I'm sure we watched an Ipswich game on Boxing Day at your house. You're one of the few who had Sky early on. So we'd come around your house. And I think your brother went, but we didn't go. And we lost 3-0 then or something.
We just got it's just a place we've just got really horrific. But I did love the goals they used to have at Portman Road. We can talk about that later in the season when we go away to Portman Road because it's an old school stadium. But playing them at home is a really good thing to have.
I just want to say on the back of the Matt Holland interview, we did record another interview with Matt where he talked about his the five-a-side team that he's played with. He had some great chat about Robbie Keane. He talks about his goal at the World Cup. A really, really good 10-minute or so interview with Matt. That is in our members area. Do become a member. You can do so, like I said, on our YouTube channel. You have to do it on a desktop. You can't do it on your phone, but join us. There's some great content behind there. We've got interviews with Matt, ex-Spurs players, Paul Robinson, Darren Bent. We've got chats with Jamie Carragher, a couple of guys, Thomas Broich and James Holland, not related to Matt, who played under Ange. And we've got some other interviews coming up that we'll be sticking behind the members area. So have a look at that. Help us out here at Launchpod Studios. Right, I'm going to give you some match stats going into Sunday's game. Would you like to hear them? Tough, you're going to get them anyway. We've won 32 of our last 36 home games against promoted sides. Drawn 2, lost 2. I actually didn't look up who the 2 defeats were against promoted teams.
One was probably against Wolves, weren't it? Because you mentioned
so the last...
we lost 1-0 to Wolves in both games, didn't we?
No, we lost 3-1 at home at Wembley when Kane scored that absolute belter.
That wasn't it. No, we lost 1-0 to Wolves in 2009.
Wolves 2018, yeah. We were 1-0 up at Wembley and they scored 3 late, I remember.
Yeah.
And we were on an amazing run as well.
So I think it's Wolves twice. Anyway, Tottenham have conceded the first goal in each of their last 4 Premier League home games, but have come back to win the last 3. No team has ever conceded first, but gone on to win 4 consecutive home games in the competition. We talked about this last week. Going 1-0 down is annoying, but we know that we can get back in it. You go 2-0 down, you got.
We somehow don't. Oh God, I've jinxed it. We somehow never seem to go 2 down.
He's new here.
There's always a period in West Ham and Villa where you think, oh, this could turn a bit, and it never seems to happen.
I enjoyed this back and forth on our comments between Gary and Gareth Dace. Gareth Dace, who's been on before, written a great book on Spurs in the 90s, if you haven't seen it, called Is Gascoigne Going to Have a Crack? He is encyclopedic about Tottenham. Gary said here.
No one's bigging up my memory. Gareth is on another level.
Oh, Jake's memory. Yeah. But Gareth is incredible. Gary said, I made the error of suggesting I was right and he was wrong. Went home, looked it up, and he was wrong. Well, maybe Gary's talking about Jake, but between...
He is. He's talking about that. I think Gary will confirm when Van der Ven didn't start against Brentford on the opening day of last year.
Right.
And I was like,
but between you and Gareth, I might do a little quiz between you two.
No,
I reckon
he'll put me to
Gareth...
I think I could take Gareth on 90s. I mean,
you can't.
No,
you can't.
He knows dates.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Exact dates from 30 years.
He's ridiculous.
Incredible. It's incredible.
Tottenham have lost their last 2 Premier League matches in the weekend immediately following a European match. We've talked about that, going down to Brighton and Crystal Palace. And none of leads me nicely into our prediction for the weekend. None of Tottenham's last 26 Premier League home matches have ended in a draw. Producer James has just come in and stared at me. What's happened?
Well, I said I wasn't going to jump in until you'd hit a certain level.
Yeah.
I guess I'm jumping in. The look on his face
Yeah.
that says, I can beat Gareth.
Is that a challenge?
I mean, why are we not?
We're doing a quiz.
Yeah,
no, let's get...
I'll beat
I'm doing a 90s quiz. Gareth... See,
No, I can't do 90s.
Can't. All right, Gareth
Too
Fioli
early.
Spiro, 90s quiz.
I had my only friend was my dog, and my only life thing was Spurs. And
heading Gareth.
What's the prize?
The prize? You're being echoed.
Look, Gareth's in already.
Gareth.
He's already spent the Amazon vouchers.
All right.
Well, that's the prize. Amazon vouchers.
Fine, we'll do that in an international break. We have got one next week. I haven't got time to write it.
I need to revise.
We will get a 90s quiz going, and I cannot wait.
20-1 on Ollie.
Tottenham v Tottenham.
Right, fine, brilliant. We're going to do that. But I was going to finish this stat. None of Tottenham's last 26 home games have ended in a draw. We've also not drawn 0-0 at the stadium. It's about 105 games now in the league. We drew with Milan in the Champions League when he chucked on Davinson Sanchez when we needed a goal. But we have not drawn 0-0 in the league at the new stadium. Did at Wembley against Swansea.
That's like 6 years ago.
Yeah,
right?
2018, I think. Gareth's going to tell us in a minute. Right, prediction before we go for Sunday, please. Oliver Spiro.
I'm going to go tight 2-1. I think we are going to be tired, but we're playing against a team that are going to approach the game in hopefully a similar way to we do. But it's going to be a tight. It's going to be a tight game. We play a lot of football.
Jake?
If Gary was here, he would be saying
6-0.
5-0. 5-0.
Off time.
So I'm going to say 4-1. There we go. Look at that. 7.5 years ago.
Don Hutchinson said to me last night, Spurs are going to win 6-0. I don't think that's going to happen. Look, we scored 4 against Villa, 3 or 4 against Brentford,
4 against Everton.
4 against Everton,
4 against West Ham.
4 against West Ham. I'm going to go... do you remember that Wimbledon game years ago? This is in the 90s, one for Gareth. I think Guy Butters scored.
But it's,
what's that got to do with it?
that's
3-2.
That's late 80s.
Late
That's
80s.
in the 88-89 season.
Gareth is
Okay,
dropping
yeah,
out
no,
the date.
maybe I'm
Look,
not going to win.
I just think we're going to win 3-2. Team in blue. That was in my head. It was a tough fought game against a team that we should have beaten by more. I think Spurs are going to win 3-2.
3-2.
Yeah, just like a bit tired. Ipswich, I don't know.
Get 3-1 up maybe.
On
Convince
Ipswich, by the way,
him
their left back Leif Davis. I know that Matt mentioned him. I think for Liam Delap obviously has taken the headlines, but Leif Davis is really good.
Brilliant. He's got a
And
great
with my Spurs hat on, and where I would love us to be as a squad, and I've said this before, is having 4 fullbacks that are sort of interchangeable. And going back to Gary Diamond's favourite manager, Conte, he always wanted to rotate his wing backs after about 60 minutes in a game to keep up the intensity. I think what we've seen recently with the sort of central midfield changes that are happening quite early, that we're having this second wind at 70 odd minutes. And I would love us to have 2 fullbacks who could come on after 60 minutes and then just push the game on and be relentless. Leif Davis is definitely one to watch. So those of you in the east and west stand, do look at him. He really looks like a really good player. He's got an absolute unbelievable volley against
Last week.
Was it last week? Yeah.
So, little anecdote, really boring one, but I'm going to do it anyway. I was driving to work last week on the M25 and I had this leaf on my wing mirror. It wouldn't go. I was like, it's really annoying me. So when I got to work, I was like, this is a sign. I have a few quid on Leif Davis scoring.
And you did it?
And he did. Yeah.
What odds was that?
I think I did to score or assist, and it was about 6 or 7 to 1 because he's got a few assists. Anyway, there's my Leif Davis anecdote.
Leaf it out.
Right. I tried to finish on predictions, but then Ollie
But
took
you've
off
gone
down.
3-2. You've gone 2-1.
I just think that we're, we
We
play
don't
a
keep
lot.
clean sheets, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
no, I've not. I've stopped doing that. That's why I've gone 4-1. I'm not doing a 2-0. Yeah, that just doesn't happen with us.
I'm also with the predictions because everyone, like as I said a couple of weeks ago, like 3-1 seems to be the Spurs prediction. You're thinking we'll score goals, we'll concede one. I'm trying to take a counter-cyclical approach on really it's going to be a tight game this one because it's got to happen at some point.
Yeah.
We're going to take a tight game and then it's going to be like, yeah, no, I was right.
I do think it's the kind of game if you score early against a team that have not won a game yet and get I don't know even 2-0 up in the first half an hour, we really could sort of take them apart. I hope.
Okay, well, Ed reckons 4-2.
That's a good shout from Gary.
4-2 is not a very predicted score, but yeah, that's a...
Get your predictions in.
I mean, Gary's saying here, surely on live shows, anyone in the chat should put a prediction. Whoever gets it right gets a prize. I mean, we could be dishing out a load of prizes. Right, anyway, we're not doing that this week. We all agree that Spurs are going to win. Let's just hope they do it. We will be back on Monday with Jake and Gary.
The A-team.
No, the rotation policy continues. And hopefully on the back of another home win. We will see you then, and up the Spurs.
Good.